Whether you're preparing for sleep, seeking a moment of calm during a hectic day, or simply looking to relax, welcome to Eerie Embers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, also share some stories from your part of the world. Hit the lights, get comfy, and let's begin the journey. I walk the same route home every night. Nothing special, just 6 blocks from the bus stop to my apartment. I live in a decently quiet part of town. Not too many people out after 10 p.m., but I like that. Peaceful, familiar. My body can do the walk on autopilot. That's why I noticed it right away. The new street. I was almost home, passing between 2 apartment buildings on Baker Street when I saw the turn. A narrow road cutting off to the right. Clean, perfect sidewalk. Lampposts that looked freshly painted. A cul-de-sac, maybe. I'd walked that way hundreds of times and never seen it. But there it was, wide open, well lit. At first I figured I just hadn't paid attention before. Maybe construction had finished. I was curious, though. It looked too clean, like one of those fake neighborhoods on movie sets. But it had street signs, trash bins, the works. Totally normal. I decided to walk it, just to see. It was dead silent. Like not just no cars or people, but no bugs, no wind, not even the faint city hum you get late at night. I remember thinking, it felt like the air was holding its breath. The houses were all old, like 1930s colonial style. White paint, black shutters, wraparound porches. But every single one was empty. You could just feel it. No curtains, no mail, not even dead leaves on the porch, except one, about halfway down the street. I saw a house with a flickering light in the upstairs window. It blinked like a dying fluorescent bulb. I slowed down, not sure why. That house, it felt wrong. It wasn't just occupied, it felt aware. When I got close, the porch light came on. Just like that. No motion sensor click, just on. I was about to keep walking, pick up the pace, even when the door creaked open. Not wide, just a few inches. Enough. And then someone whispered my full name. Not loudly, not angrily, just like they'd been waiting. I stopped cold. My heart shot into my throat. No one should know my full name here. Not the way it was said. Like a parent waking you up gently. Like someone who knows you too well. I didn't move. I wanted to run, but my feet were concrete. My hands started sweating. The air got colder. Then the voice whispered again. Come see. I backed up slowly. No sudden movements. That felt important somehow. Like if I startled it, things would get worse. I turned and walked, brisk but steady, back the way I came. Here's the part that messed me up. When I got to the end of the street, Baker was gone. Just a row of trees and a rusted chain link fence. I turned around. flickering house was still there, door still open. I ran, full sprint, down the road, past the flickering light, past the other empty houses. It felt like the street was stretching. I swear it got longer the faster I ran. But finally, I saw something familiar. My corner store, lit up like normal. I stumbled into the parking lot, gasping. When I turned around, the street was gone. Just sidewalk and a hedge. I've checked every day since. There's no side street there. No narrow road. No lampposts. Nothing. I even asked a guy who's lived here for 40 years. He said, there used to be a development back there, way before your time. They tore it down after a fire in the 60s. Whole block. Nobody ever rebuilt. So yeah, I'm not crazy. The street was real. Okay, so this happened to me about 3 months ago, and I still don't have a good explanation. I'm not saying it was paranormal for sure, but I haven't ruled it out either. This might be the kind of story that belongs here, so I figured I'd throw it out. I'm a truck driver, but this particular night, I was just driving home from my cousin's house. Residential neighborhood, mid-sized town, pretty quiet. It was just after midnight, and I was taking a route I don't normally drive, trying to avoid construction. I turned onto a long, dimly lit street, one of those ones lined with big oak trees that make everything feel extra shadowy at night. I had my windows cracked and the radio low, just chilling, ready to get home. That's when I saw her. She was walking along the sidewalk on the right side of the street. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, barefoot and wearing a white, old-fashioned dress, like something you'd see in a period drama. It was frilly at the sleeves and kind of poofy, like a baptism dress or a flower girl thing from way back. No jacket, no shoes. And this was March. It wasn't snowing or anything, but it was cold. She had long, dark hair hanging in her face, and she was moving slow, like she was either lost or sleepwalking. Just wrong. It immediately struck me as off. I slowed down, rolled my window down further, and called out, "Hey, sweetheart, you okay?" She didn't stop walking, didn't even turn her head. So I pulled over, flipped on my hazard lights, and got out. The neighborhood was totally dead. No porch lights on. No dogs barking. Just me and this barefoot kid. I stepped up onto the sidewalk about 20 feet from her and called out again. "Hey, are you lost?" She finally stopped. Didn't look at me right away, just kind of froze in place. Then she slowly turned her head and looked up. Her eyes were weird. Not glowing or anything cheesy like that, just glassy. Dark. And her face was pale, but not like a sick kid. It looked too smooth, almost like porcelain. She stared at me for a long second, Then she said, very quietly, "You're not supposed to see me." I swear, the second those words left her mouth, the air changed. Everything got heavy. My chest felt tight, like I was suddenly underwater. I couldn't even answer her. I was just frozen there. I blinked once, just once, and she was gone. Not ran off, not ducked behind a tree. Gone, like she'd never been there. No sound, no trace. Just me standing on a sidewalk in the middle of nowhere, like a lunatic. I checked up and down the block, looked in yards, even knocked on a door or two. Nothing. No one had seen a little girl. No one knew what I was talking about. One old guy told me to stop playing pranks. I got back in my car, heart still hammering, and drove the rest of the way home with all the lights on. Here's the part that really freaks me out, though. I told my cousin about it the next day, half joking, half hoping he'd say, "Oh yeah, local legend. That's just Annie," or whatever. But he got quiet. Then he told me that when he was a kid, his mom warned him not to play on that street after dark. When he asked why, she said, "There's a girl who walks barefoot there sometimes. She's not for you to see." I made him swear he wasn't messing with me. He looked pale as a sheet. So now I've got this story I can't explain. I've driven past that same stretch 5 or 6 times since. Never seen her again, but I don't roll my window down anymore. And I definitely don't stop. I know this sounds like one of those dumb cryptid stories people make up for likes, but I swear this actually happened to me. I'm not saying you have to believe it. Hell, I probably wouldn't either if someone else told me this. But I've got footage, sort of. And even if you don't believe me, maybe someone here has seen something similar. I live in rural Northern California. Not too far from the woods, but not so deep in that you can't get decent cell reception. My property backs up into a patch of semi-wild land that stretches for a few miles before hitting farmland again. Not exactly primeval forest, but wild enough that we get the occasional coyote, raccoon, and even a black bear once. Anyway, I'd been dealing with raccoons getting into my trash cans for weeks. They're clever little bastards. I tried bungee cords, weighted lids, even ammonia-soaked rags. Nothing worked. So I finally picked up a cheap set of motion-activated trail cams. You know, the kind hunters use. I set one up on the fence facing the cans, and another pointing toward the wooded edge of the yard. Mostly for curiosity's sake. This was 2 weeks ago. The first night, I got a blurry clip of a raccoon waddling across the yard. Confirmed my suspicions. Second night, same deal. Third night, nothing. That was weird in itself, because the little trash pandas had been consistent. But whatever, I figured maybe I finally scared them off. Then came the fourth night. I woke up around 6 a.m., grabbed some coffee and sat down to check the SD cards. The camera by the trash cans had nothing, but the one near the tree line at 3:14 a.m., the footage starts with wind in the trees. A few seconds later, something moves into frame. It looked like just legs, white, impossibly thin, and bending in a way that didn't make anatomical sense. They glided more than walked. There was no upper body, no arms, just two pale limbs walking upright like a person, but moving like they were weightless, like a puppet on invisible strings. They crossed from the left side of the screen to the right in complete silence. The camera didn't glitch. There was no digital artifacting, just those legs, about 3 feet tall, silently drifting across my backyard. I sat there frozen, watching it loop, over and over. I thought maybe it was a prank or some kind of camera malfunction. But then I went outside. There was a trail in the grass. Not footprints, exactly. But the grass along its path was pressed flat and frost-covered. Mind you, it was 47 degrees that night. No frost anywhere else. Just this thin, winding trail of frozen grass stretching from the trees to the far end of the yard. I touched it. It was cold. I mean, unnaturally cold. Like putting your hand against dry ice. I yanked my fingers back. I didn't sleep that next night. I left the porch light on. I brought my old shotgun out of the closet, even though I knew damn well I wouldn't shoot anything unless I was in real danger. The camera caught nothing that night, or the night after. And believe me, I checked. I even upgraded to better cameras with night vision and higher frame rates. But the figure didn't come back. Not right away. It was a full week before I saw it again. This time with my own eyes. It was around 2:30 a.m., and I had one of those feelings that just yanks you out of sleep. I can't explain it. Like my body knew something was out there. I got up, crept to the back door, and peered through the glass. There it was. Same shape. Same white, stick-thin legs, gliding across the lawn in that silent, smooth motion. But this time it stopped, midway across the yard, and turned. I don't know how it turned. There was no torso, no head, but somehow I knew it was facing me, watching me. The porch light flickered. I backed away from the glass and just stood there in the hallway, holding my breath like a little kid hiding under a blanket. When I finally looked again, it was gone. Just gone. The trail it left that time was deeper. The grass was dead in a perfect line. Like whatever it was had sucked the life right out of it. I haven't seen it since, but I feel like it's still around, watching, waiting for something. And here's the part that keeps me up the most. That trail. It wasn't just leading away into the woods this time. It curved, it looped back, all the way to my bedroom window. I didn't check the footage that day. I couldn't. I still have the first video, though. I showed it to a couple friends. They thought it was CGI. I wish it was. I really, really wish it was. Anyway, if anyone's got any idea what the hell that was, let me know. I'm not looking for fame or clicks. I just want to sleep through the night again. So this is something that happened a couple of years ago, but it still bothers me every time I think about it. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't high. I wasn't exhausted or hallucinating or anything else that might explain it away. And maybe someone out there has a rational explanation. God, I hope so. I was living in a smaller Midwestern city at the time. Not tiny, but the kind of place where downtown goes quiet by 10 p.m. unless there's a festival or something. I worked nights doing inventory for retail chains, so my hours were all over the place. That particular night, I got off work around 2 a.m. and decided to walk home because the air felt nice and I needed to clear my head. I was walking down one of the main streets that cuts through downtown. You know the type, lined with old brick buildings and shuttered storefronts. The only light came from street lamps and the occasional flicker of a neon beer sign in a bar that had already closed. That's when I heard it, the low, growling engine of a bus. Now, anyone familiar with our city transit knows that the buses stop running at midnight sharp. It's been that way forever. No late night lines, no 24-hour service. It's just not that kind of city. So when I saw this old city bus chugging toward me, yellowish headlights piercing through the mist, I stopped walking. It looked off, like an older model that had been retired for years. The paint was faded. The number plate above the windshield was unlit. And it was loud. Way louder than it should have been, like the engine was grinding itself to death. Still, it pulled up to the corner across the street from me and hissed to a stop. There was no one waiting there, not a soul, but the doors opened. They just swung open like they were letting someone off or letting something in. No one stepped out. No one stepped in. The interior lights were dim and yellow, flickering slightly, like they couldn't decide whether to stay on or not. Then came the weirdest part. The lights blinked, just for a second, maybe less. But in that flicker, I could see the passengers. The bus was full, packed, actually. Every seat occupied, but no one was moving. No one was talking, and they were all staring straight ahead. Or at least I thought they were, until I realized they were staring at me. All of them. Their heads were turned just slightly toward the window, faces half-lit by that sickly yellow glow. Eyes wide. Some mouths open, like they were mid-scream, but but no sound was coming out. I remember one guy in particular. Bald head, glasses that reflected the light too brightly. He was sitting directly across from the door, and when the lights flickered again, I swear his hand was pressed against the window. I took a step back, and the bus shuddered, like it was going to lurch forward. But it didn't. Instead, the doors hissed shut. The bus sat there for maybe 5 more seconds before the engine groaned to life again. It pulled away from the curb, slow and steady, and rumbled off down the empty street. No stops, no turns, just disappeared into the distance. I waited there for a long time, half expecting it to circle back. It never did. I called my friend, who works at the city's transit office, the next day, just out of curiosity. Told her I saw a bus on Main after 2 a.m. and asked if there was some special route I didn't know about. She said flat out, "Nope, nothing runs past midnight. Hasn't for years." I asked if maybe a charter or museum bus had gone out, like a restoration project or something. She paused and said, "There was one old model we sold off years ago. Some collector from out of state. But it doesn't run. The engine was shot." I described the number on the side. She got quiet, said that was the one. "Bus 214, she said. "That one was decommissioned in 2006. Total electrical failure. It's not even in the city anymore. So yeah, that's my story. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't dreaming. And that bus was real loud, smelly, and full of people who definitely weren't supposed to be there. Every now and then, I think about the man with the glasses and the hand on the window. I can't help but feel like he was trying to tell me something. Or maybe he just wanted me to get on. I'm glad I didn't. Okay, so I know there's a lot of legends floating around about the beast of Bray Road. But what happened to me and my wife last October still keeps me up at night. And before anyone says we imagined it, or hit a bear or something, trust me, I know what I saw. We both do. And no bear has a face like that. It was our anniversary weekend. We'd rented this quiet little airbnb cabin just outside Elkhorn, Wisconsin, for a few days of hiking, wine, and peace. The usual couple getaway stuff. Friday night, we decided to take the long, scenic route back to the cabin after dinner in town. That's when we found ourselves on Bray Road. I knew the stories, of course. I even joked about it when I realized where we were. My wife rolled her eyes and told me not to start with the creepy stuff. It was just after 10 p.m., and the road was dark. No streetlights. Just the headlights cutting through the trees and fields. We were going maybe 40, talking about what wine to open when we got back, when something ran in front of the car. I slammed on the brakes. We hit it. Not hard, Not enough to send us flying or smash the windshield, but it was a solid thump. I thought we'd hit a deer. My wife screamed, and I put the car in park. I grabbed my flashlight and got out while she stayed in the car. I looked around. Nothing. No blood. No fur. No thrashed bushes like something had limped off into the woods. The road was empty. And then I heard it. Not a whimper, not a growl, but something in between. Wet, ragged. It was coming from the ditch. I moved the light and caught a shape rising slowly from the roadside, like it had crouched out of view. It was tall, way taller than me, and I'm 6'1". At first I thought it was a bear, but it didn't move like one. Its arms were long, too long, and its fur was patchy, like mange had taken chunks of it. But what made me freeze, what made my gut drop like a stone, was the face. It looked wrong, like someone had tried to sculpt a human face onto a wolf skull. The eyes were forward-facing, sunken, and almost curious. And the mouth was all wrong. Too wide, too many teeth. It locked eyes with me. I don't know how long I stood there. A second. 5. 10. I didn't move until it took one slow step forward, and I heard a low clicking sound in its throat. I ran. Full on, sprint back to the car, threw myself inside, screaming for my wife to lock the doors. She'd seen it too, through the windshield. We tore down that road, tires spitting gravel. My wife cried the whole time. I kept checking the rear view, half expecting to see it chasing us on all fours. But nothing followed. We didn't stop again until we reached the gas station near our cabin. Under the bright lights, I got out and checked the front of the car. Still no blood, no dent, but something was off. There were long, deep gouges in the passenger side door, like claws had dragged across the metal. 4 distinct marks. We hadn't stopped. Not after we left that thing behind. We were moving the entire time. The next day, I looked up reports, recent sightings, anything. I found 2 from the same week, both from Bray Road. One guy swore something followed his truck for a mile, staying just outside the headlights. Another claimed his trail cam caught blurry images of a wolf man in his backyard. We cut the trip short and went home. I didn't report it to the police. What would I say? We hit a monster, and it got up and scratched our car. A month later, I took the car to a shop to get the door fixed. The mechanic looked at the scratches and asked me dead serious if I hit a deer or something. I just said yeah, but I know for sure that it wasn't a bear. And sometimes, when I wake up at night and the world's too quiet, I think about those eyes, human but not, like it had seen me before, like it knew me. Whatever's out there on Bray Road, it's not a story. It's real. So I've been lurking for a while, reading your creepy work stories and weird encounters, and I figure it's finally time to share mine. Not sure where else I'd post this, and maybe it'll help me sleep better. Maybe not. This happened back in 2017 when I was working third shift as a morgue assistant at a small city hospital in the Midwest. Not my dream job, but I just moved into town, needed money fast, and the position was open. Pay wasn't bad, and honestly, I thought it'd be a quiet gig. Dead people don't talk, right? Mostly it was chill. A little weird at first, working alone in a room full of bodies, but you get used to it faster than you'd think. Clean up, log new arrivals, keep everything prepped for the coroner. Pretty standard. Until drawer 12. First day on the job, my supervisor, Jean, gave me the rundown. Nice enough guy, been there 20 years. But when we got to the wall of cold drawers, he got weirdly serious. Pointed to one in the far left corner. Drawer 12 stays closed, he said. No exceptions. If it starts making noise, ignore it. If it opens a crack, close it without looking. Got it. I thought he was messing with me. A little morgue humor to haze the new guy. I laughed. He didn't. I'm serious. You don't want to know. I asked what was in it, but he just shook his head and said, "Let sleeping dogs lie." So of course, my curiosity was piqued. But I didn't press it that first night, or the second, or the third. Then came Thursday. About 3 a.m., I'm doing some chart updates when I hear it scratching. Faint, but unmistakable, coming from the back wall. Drawer 12. At first, I froze. Thought maybe it was rats. But that didn't make sense. The morgue was spotless, sealed. No way a rat's getting in, let alone into one of the sealed drawers. The scratching stopped. I tried to laugh it off, convince myself it was just pipes or my mind playing tricks. Went back to my work. Then the next night, same time, there it is again, the scratching. A little louder this time and a little more desperate. I didn't check, remembered what Jean said, but it started to get to me. Every night that week, same thing, same time. One night, there was banging, just once, like a fist slamming against the metal from the inside. I asked Jean about it again. He got pale and said, "Last guy who opened that drawer didn't finish his shift. Never came back." I laughed, but inside, I was starting to get real uncomfortable. Still didn't believe it completely. But I wasn't sleeping well anymore, that's for sure. Then came my last shift. I had already given notice, found something better during the day. That night, I brought coffee, figured I'd just keep my head down and power through. It was quiet until 2:58 a.m. Then the scratching started. Slow, steady, deliberate. At 3 a.m., I heard a click, latch slipping. I turned and saw it. Drawer 12 was open. Not all the way, maybe 2 inches. Cold air poured out like a sigh, and on the inside of the drawer lid, I saw them. Bloody fingerprints. 5 of them, smeared and frantic. My body acted before my brain could. I grabbed the drawer and slammed it shut. It didn't want to stay. I had to throw my weight into it. When it finally latched, the scratching exploded into full-blown pounding, like fists slamming on the inside. Then silence. Total, suffocating silence. I stood there for I don't know how long. Minutes, maybe. My heart trying to climb out of my throat. Eventually, I turned away, packed my stuff, and left early. I didn't say goodbye, didn't look back. Jean called me the next day and said, "You saw it, didn't you?" I told him I didn't open it, that it was already ajar. He sighed and said, "It always does that on the last night. Just be glad you didn't look inside." I tried asking what it is. He wouldn't say. All I know is I still dream about it sometimes. The sound of nails on steel, the chill in the air, the fingerprints. And sometimes I wake up at 3 a.m., sure that I can hear something scratching from inside my closet. Anyway, thanks for reading. Maybe now I can sleep. Maybe. Not sure what I'm hoping to get out of posting this. Maybe validation that I'm not going nuts. Maybe a warning to anyone with a summer cabin out in the woods. Don't ignore weird noises. So this happened about 2 weeks ago, up at my family's cabin near Iron River, Wisconsin. It's a little A-frame place my dad built back in the 70s. Nothing fancy, just a fireplace, a small kitchen, 2 bedrooms, and a low wooden deck that wraps around the front. The kind of place people romanticize until you're the one chopping wood in 40-degree rain. Anyway, I was up there alone for a weekend getaway. Needed a break from screens and people. It was peaceful at first, cool breeze, rustling trees, a distant loon call here and there. But on Saturday night, I started hearing noises. Clawing sounds under the deck. At first, I figured raccoons, or maybe a porcupine had gotten under there. That's happened before. But it wasn't random scratching. It was slow, rhythmic, like deliberate. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Pause, then again. And always at the same corner, near the support post on the west side. I didn't sleep well. I left the porch light on all night, half expecting to see something scurry out, but nothing moved. Just that sound every few minutes. The next morning, I grabbed my flashlight, gloves, and a pry bar. The crawl space under the deck isn't full height. You've got maybe 3 feet to move around. I pulled off the lattice skirt and crawled under. The air was stale and smelled faintly like mildew. And something else, something sour, ground under there is mostly dry dirt and dead leaves. Insulation from the cabin's underfloor hangs down in some places. And that's what I noticed first. Some of the insulation was shredded, not just torn clod, like something with fingers had been tearing upward toward the floorboards. I followed the trail to the west corner. That's when I saw the marks in the wooden support post. Deep grooves. 4, maybe 5 parallel scratches running vertically, spaced like fingers. And then I saw it, crouched in the farthest corner, where the deck almost met the ground, was something. A shape, humanish, way too thin. Pale gray skin stretched over bones. No clothes, no hair. Knees up to its chest, arms wrapped tight around them. Its fingers were long, so long and clawed. It looked wrong, like a person drawn by someone who had never actually seen a person. It wasn't moving. I froze. I don't know how long I was staring at it. It could have been seconds or minutes. The flashlight beam wavered because my hand was shaking so bad. I wanted to believe it was a mannequin or some kind of awful Halloween prank, but it wasn't plastic. I could see the rise and fall of its chest, shallow, slow breaths, and its skin, God, it looked wet, like it had just crawled out of a swamp. I backed out slowly, not taking my eyes off it. My heart was hammering, and I kept telling myself not to make a sound. I don't know why, just instinct. Something primal. Once I was out, I didn't even stop to put the lattice back. I grabbed my keys and left. Drove straight back to Duluth that morning. Didn't even look back in the rear view. I haven't told my family yet. The cabin's still technically theirs, though I'm the only one who really uses it. I haven't been back. I don't want to go back. But here's the kicker. 3 days after I got home, I found claw marks on my apartment's back door. I live on the 2nd floor. I haven't heard any scratching yet. But last night, I could have sworn I saw something crouched across the street, near the tree line, just outside the glow of the street lamp. Watching. All right, this is my first time posting on here. Be gentle, I guess. I'm not much of a storyteller, and I wouldn't even be writing this if I hadn't been practically dared by my coworkers after I told them what happened. They think I'm messing with them. Hell, I wish I was messing with them. Anyway, I work at this warehouse for a major shipping company. I won't say which one, but you've definitely used it. I'm on the night shift, which is mostly quiet, except for the occasional racket from loading docks or forklifts. It's usually just me and 1 or 2 others, but that night I was solo. Budget cuts. It was just past 1 a.m. when I started the final inventory sweep. I was supposed to go through Zone C, which is the back half of the warehouse, mostly bulk storage. The kind of stuff that collects dust and never really moves unless someone screws up their ordering. It's quiet back there. Too quiet sometimes. Anyway, I was walking through the aisles with my handheld scanner, double-checking product codes, matching them to the system. Boring, tedious work. I had earbuds in, playing one of those true crime podcasts. Yeah, I know, ironic now. That's when I heard it. A single beep, the kind the scanner makes when it logs something. Now, here's the thing. I was holding the scanner. No one else had signed one out that night. I even looked at it, made sure I hadn't accidentally hit a button. I hadn't. My thumb was nowhere near the trigger. I paused the podcast, pulled one earbud out. The warehouse was dead silent. No machinery, no forklifts, no fans, just the hum of the fluorescence overhead. Then it beeped again, this time from somewhere deeper in the aisle. Not loud, but clear. Like someone had scanned a tag maybe 50 feet away. Now, I don't spook easily. I mean, warehouses are creepy at night by default. I've seen enough weird crap rats, flickering lights, even a raccoon once. But this was different. Because when I pulled up the handheld's recent activity, it showed that 2 items had just been scanned under my username. That's not supposed to happen. The scanner is assigned to the user and logs your ID for every activity. It even shows which scanner unit is doing the logging. But these new entries, they were from my ID, but a different scanner ID. One that wasn't supposed to be in use. I thought maybe it was a system glitch. Maybe IT had pushed some test data or something. I backed out of the screen and radioed to the office. No one responded. That's when I remembered. I was the only one on shift. Then I heard it again. Beep. This time from the adjacent aisle. I stepped out into the main corridor that runs down the spine of Zone C-Nothing. Just row after row of stacked shelves and shadows. Another beep, now on my left. I turned slowly. That's when the motion sensor lights kicked on, like something had moved at the far end of the aisle. But I hadn't stepped far enough to trigger them. Now I was getting nervous. I started walking, slow and careful. I kept the scanner up like it was going to protect me or something. I reached the end of the aisle where the lights had triggered and found nothing. No one. No animals. Just another beep, this time directly behind me. I whipped around. Still no one. But something was there. One of the pallet boxes on the bottom shelf had been opened. The tape sliced cleanly. Inside was a single item missing, a handheld scanner unit. I checked the ID tag on the box. That item hadn't been scheduled for check-in. In fact, that entire pallet wasn't even supposed to be touched this week. I looked down at the floor and saw faint boot prints in the dust. Not mine. Too big. tread didn't match my shoes. Now I was officially freaked out. I started backing away and hit the call button on my radio. "Dispatch, this is Steve. I think someone's in the warehouse." Respond. Nothing, just static. "Hello, anyone?" Then beep. This time right next to me. My scanner went off in my hand, but I hadn't pressed anything. I looked down. A new log entry had appeared. Item unknown. Logged by Steve. Scanner ID 0. I didn't even know scanner ID 0 existed. That's not even a valid entry. I turned and ran. I don't even remember which aisles I cut through. Just that I ran all the way back to the front of the warehouse. I locked the door behind me and sat in the break room, trying to calm down. I didn't sleep that morning when I got home. I couldn't. Instead, I logged into the inventory system remotely. I checked the access logs. There were now 12 items logged under my name during the hour between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. I only remember scanning 3. The rest, random junk. Stuff we didn't even store anymore. An old radio, some broken printer equipment, a steel rack, and one listed as simply Entry 13, Human Male Moving. I quit the next week. Management didn't believe me. Said I must have made a mistake or was hallucinating from lack of sleep. They wiped the logs after an audit. But here's the thing. 2 nights ago, I got a text from a guy I used to work with. He's on the night shift now. All it said was, "Hey man, scanner just beeped on its own. You ever have that happen?" I never replied. I don't know if he's okay. If you're reading this, don't work warehouse nights alone, especially not in Zone C. I've worked as a 911 dispatcher for a little over 7 years now. Mostly nights. Graveyard shifts. It's not a glamorous gig, but it pays well enough, and you get used to the strange rhythms of the night. Some people think it's just taking calls and forwarding them to the right departments. And for the most part, yeah, it is. But sometimes the night bleeds weird. This started about 3 months ago. It was a slow Tuesday night. 1:09 a.m. on the dot. The phone line lit up with an incoming call. I answered like I always do. 911, what's your emergency? Nothing, just dead air. But not the kind where someone's phone died or they pocket dialed. This was intentional silence. The line was open. There was the faintest trace of static, almost like someone holding their breath on the other end. I gave it a full minute before marking it as a hang-up. Standard protocol. Next night, same time. 1:09 a.m., same number, same silence. After the 3rd night, I flagged it to my supervisor. We tried calling it back. Disconnected. A tech came down to pull the call logs. I'm not super tech savvy, but even I could see something was off. The number wasn't in any existing carrier database. It shouldn't have been able to connect, but it did. Every night at 1:09 a.m., not 1:08, not 1:10, but exactly 1:09. A week in, I started talking to it. I know it sounds dumb, but being alone in that room, under fluorescent lights, with just the hum of servers and the city scanner in the background, it gets to you. "Hello, are you okay?" I said. Silence. You've called every night. If this is a prank, you're wasting resources. Again, silence. Then one night, I thought I heard something, like a breath, soft, right against the receiver. But it faded before I could be sure. I started dreading that minute after 1:08. Not because I was scared exactly, but because it felt heavy, like something was watching through the phone. I stopped telling my supervisor about it after week 2. I didn't want to be pulled off night shifts. I figured maybe someone was messing with our lines. I could live with that. Until last Thursday, we had a new guy training with us, Chris. Fresh out of the academy, eager, a little jittery, but good-natured. I warned him ahead of time about the 1:09 call, just so he wouldn't freak out. He didn't believe me, of course. Who would? But then it came, right on time. He stared at the screen, then at me. "That's the number?" he asked. "Yeah, just let it run." No response. Chris, being the curious type, hit the trace log. Now, this part still makes my skin crawl, because up until that point, the calls were untraceable. But that night, it pinged. Not just a general location either. A full address. It was a residential lot about 5 miles south of our dispatch center. I recognized the street. My grandparents used to live a few blocks over. But here's the thing, the house attached to the number. It burned down 10 years ago. Total loss. Electrical fire. 3 fatalities. Mom, Dad, and their little girl. The land had been cleared. Nothing was rebuilt. Just an empty lot with weeds and an old mailbox still standing. Chris looked at me like he was about to be sick. "That's where the call's coming from." "Apparently," I said. We pulled up archived reports, fire department logs. The time of death was estimated at 1:09 a.m. We didn't talk for the rest of the shift. That night, after I got off work, I did something stupid. I drove out there. It was just past 2 a.m. when I pulled up to the lot. No houses nearby. Just the cracked driveway and that stupid mailbox with the number still half visible. Grass waist-high. Trees bending in the windless air. I sat in my car with the engine off. No movement, no sounds. Then my phone rang. Not my work phone, my personal phone. The caller ID just said unknown. I answered slowly. Hello. Silence. Then a child's voice. Soft, croaky, like someone trying to talk through smoke-filled lungs. Help. I froze. Who is this? Too late. Click. I dropped the phone. When I picked it up again, no missed calls. No record of the call at all. Just the time. 1:09 a.m. When I got back to the dispatch center that night, I didn't tell Chris. I didn't tell anyone. But the calls kept coming. Still do. Still at 1:09. Still that same number. But last night, something changed. Instead of silence, there was music. A lullaby. Crackly, like it was playing on an old record. And underneath it, something else. Whispering not one voice, several saying my name. I ended the call early. I'm not proud of it. I don't know what's on the other end of that line. I don't think I want to find out. But I've started looking for another job. Something in daylight. Something far from phones. Just thought someone should know.